Right now, the amount of stimulus continues to be one of the big discussions, one of the debates. How much do we need, and what should it actually entail? Will we receive stimulus checks? And if so, who will receive them and for how much? Will we get state and local government funding? If so, how much? And how will it be distributed? Will we see rental assistance, food assistance, PPP funding for small businesses, and possibly an extension of unemployment benefits? Could we see all this stuff? Yes, we could. But how Congress comes to an agreement at this point is currently unknown. Many people do not understand where Congress's head is at. Many people are struggling to understand and really determine if we are getting closer to a deal or further apart. Because, and we have seen multiple reports just over the past week stating that Steve Mnuchin and Nancy Pelosi, before the election, were not that far off of reaching a stimulus deal. It came down to the verbiage of the entire package and less than $300 billion. That is what's currently being reported. Also, one of the big hurdles, the big blocks in the way of the stimulus negotiations wasn't the Trump administration. It wasn't President Trump himself. It wasn't Steve Mnuchin or Nancy Pelosi. It was actually Mitch McConnell. That is currently what's being reported. Mitch McConnell was the one that ultimately blocked everything. Even though Nancy Pelosi was the public figure blocking things, Mitch McConnell was behind the scenes, pulling the strings, saying, no, we will not approve any of that. So that's currently what's being reported. Now, what is currently being said right now as to how can Congress come to some type of compromise at this point when they have remained so far apart or somewhat far apart during the entire discussions? Well, the trick that is being considered right now is to take it all out of Congress's hands. Yes, they're saying, that's right. Don't let Congress be the one to decide who gets what and for how much. We need to find another way around this. Now, this means executive orders. You see the title, you know what this video is about. It's about executive orders. Who can actually, do these? Can President Trump do these? And can he do these right now? Or does he have to wait until maybe January? Or does Joe Biden have the power to do these come January? Joe Biden has no power at this point. Joe Biden is not our president at this point. So he actually has no power to do any executive order. So I've seen a few videos online just the past week saying that Joe Biden is going to do an executive order come January 1st. No, he's not. He can't. He has no power. Now, President Trump could do another executive order for unemployment through FEMA, like he's already done before. He did it, and he provided $300 through the federal fund and asked the states to provide the additional $100 for a max of $400 for 6 weeks. Now, this did really well. It helped out a lot of people, providing an extra $1,800 in stimulus to a lot of unemployed workers. That's great. President Trump could actually do that. He could also do another eviction moratorium extension. As you are probably well aware, the federal moratorium extension, or the federal moratorium for evictions, that expires on December 31st if it is not renewed. At this point, it's not looking like it will be renewed unless Congress comes to the table and passes some type of comprehensive stimulus package. That's at least according to Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden and the Democrat side. From the Republican side, more people are starting to understand that, yes, a smaller, more targeted stimulus package is the only way to go. And I'm going to explain this also from a Democrat side in just a second to give you a kind of, overall overview of what's currently happening and what people are talking about. President Trump could also do another executive order to push back any federal student loan payments once again. So do an additional deferral program. Now, it's currently going to expire on December 31st, but President Trump could do something like this and defer any more payments for another, 3 months, 4 months, or pretty much just till the end of January until if Joe Biden wins, he comes in, or if it turns out that there's fraud and President Trump is still our president, then he comes in and he works out another deal. Either way, just to push things back until January. That's currently what's being talked about right now, is can we kind of forego the month of January and push everything back so that hopefully we can kind of get our legs underneath us again, get out of this pandemic, get through this pandemic a little bit, and see vaccines and see people heading back to work and really see where things are going. Because as of right now, there's so many questions, there's so much uncertainty. So that's currently one of the things that's being talked about. The problem though, if President Trump, and this is one of the things that many experts believe is the reason why President Trump has not done any of this stuff, is because if he does an executive order to pretty much kick the can down the road for evictions, and he does another executive order for student loan deferrals, and he does a third eviction or executive order for unemployment through FEMA, this actually leaves out a huge group of people that still need help. And that's currently one of the issues is, yes, it would look great. We're helping people that could potentially be evicted. We're also helping people that don't have jobs, and we're also helping students, but there's a whole group of people that were not covered in any one of those three executive orders. And just like Nancy Pelosi holding strong with her demands to ensure that state and local governments receive some type of funding and receive their fair share, the Trump administration seems at this point to be doing the exact same thing with PPP funding and stimulus checks. Now, what I mean by this is that President Trump, he could do another executive order for unemployment benefits. But by doing that, it takes the pressure off of Nancy Pelosi and Democrats to include that into their package. It takes the pressure off of Nancy Pelosi because now stuff is being done. So in the same sense that Nancy Pelosi was saying, no, we need state and local government funding for $417 billion or we are not going to accept anything. We need unemployment benefits at $600 per week or we will not accept anything. By Nancy Pelosi hardlining before the election, it made it almost impossible to get a stimulus deal done. And hindsight now, we know it was impossible. Well, President Trump at this point is reportedly doing the exact same thing. And it's because of this current impasse that the Biden camp has taken it upon themselves to already begin looking into what they can do once and if he is sworn into office on January 20th. These executive orders that I'm about to talk about, these only apply in the event that there's no stimulus package done through Congress before January 20th, and President Trump has not taken it upon himself to do any more executive orders at that point. So, some of these executive orders that Joe Biden wants to enact, or the Biden camp wants to enact, are he wants to extend unemployment benefits. And this is going to be very similar to exactly what President Trump did. Whether it's $300 per week, $400 or $600, that's unknown. We haven't got word on that yet, but it will be an extension of unemployment benefits. And this would probably be through FEMA once again. Now, my guess is it will be anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. It probably won't be for $600, but that, again, we don't know. And the other addition here, the other issue is the extension of unemployment benefits for the federal boost. That most likely will not include self-employed and gig workers. So that means millions of people will be left out of those benefits. Also, Joe Biden wants to extend the eviction protections. And again, like I've stated before, this is pretty much just kicking the can down the road. This is pretty much just Joe Biden saying, if you are worried about being evicted, can't pay your rent, don't worry, we'll give you an extra 3 months. I get it, at least it helps, at least we don't see evictions starting January 1st, but we could see evictions and a mass wave of evictions come February, March, or April. The Biden camp would also like to include $200 per month to Social Security checks through all of 2021. Now, this is one of those things I mentioned before. This is really good. I think senior citizens, I think people on Social Security are having a tough time. Their income hasn't increased, but their expenses has. So because of this, we need to figure out a way to provide them with a little bit of more of a benefit, more stimulus for just them. And this is one way to do that. And like I stated before, another thing is to extend the student loan deferral and possibly forgive at least $10,000 per student loan, per person. That's big. Now, as far as deferring the student loan payments, that would be very easy to do. Essentially writing off or forgiving up to at least $10,000, potentially up to $50,000 per person in federal student loan debt. That's big. That might get some pushback, but again, that's just something we're gonna have to wait and see. The problem, we know we have problems with President Trump doing his executive orders. Well, if Joe Biden becomes our next president, we will still have these problems. The problems just transfer from president to president, from person to person. It's not like President Trump has different rules than Joe Biden. They're all the same rules, or supposed to be. So the problem with some of these is that the funding is going to be limited. What I mean by this, and also giving $200 per Social Security recipient would require Congress's approval, unless there's a way to get around this, and this is exactly, I'll kind of explain what I mean by this in a second, but unless Joe Biden and his team can figure out a way and can call the $200 per month boost for Social Security recipients as a test program. And this is similar to what President Trump did and the Trump administration tried to do before the election, when they were trying to offer $200 discount prescription drug cards for senior citizens. And these $200 prescription drug cards were supposedly being called a test program. And this is one of the ways they could get around you going to Congress to get funding. But after lawyers looked at this, it looked like it was more of just a political stunt and an election type move to kind of buy votes. So they had to hold off on this. Now it seems like this is a possibility. However, they're kind of waiting on this, and it looks like Joe Biden and his team would essentially come forward and try something like a $200 per month pretty much bonus. Instead of just a $200 one-time prescription drug card, they're going to give $200 per month. Now, this should be very expensive, so my guess is this could have a limit. Instead of going all through 2021, it could go possibly for 6 months. So at least it will be something, but this will be really good for people that are on Social Security. What we need to keep an eye on here is where Congress stands on all these things. And I say this because if Congress doesn't take action on a lot of these things, then Joe Biden is going to try. But if Joe Biden is unable to at that point, then these people could miss out on more stimulus as well. For example, if Joe Biden tries or wants to do $200 per month for people on Social Security, and Congress doesn't actually do anything for people on Social Security. The problem is, if Congress doesn't do anything, then Joe Biden jumps in at the end and tries to do something after Congress has already passed a bill, and then he figures out he can't do anything either. We're pretty much stuck. Those people would miss out on stimulus entirely. Now, I know all this sounds very confusing and has many people wondering when Congress is just going to get back to the table, get back to negotiating, and actually look to see how they can help out the American people. We have some good news. Okay, this is good news from two congressmen that I want you to hear. Now, both of these were videos. I watched the video. I just want to break down exactly the main pieces that they said and how this is important in regards to stimulus. The reason why is because what they say is what many of us have been feeling for months, and they do give some hope as to what happens moving forward. So, first off, we got Congressman Mike Doyle. He says, and I quote, "Congress should not be allowed to go back on vacation until a stimulus package is passed." Now, Mike Doyle is a Democrat from Pennsylvania, and he strongly supports additional stimulus. Not just stimulus checks, not just state and local government funding, all stimulus. Every single kind of stimulus he supports. Currently, and one of the reasons why he's saying this is because Congress comes back in session on Monday. Okay, today's Friday. So that's Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday. They come back on Monday, and we'll have 3 weeks in session until they go back on recess for the rest of the year come December 18th. Now, many Americans are currently fed up with Congress and taking so much time off when there are over 12 million Americans that are still out of work and the virus continues to surge. Although I don't think Congress will stay in Washington past December 18th. I think they will go on recess. They will go on their vacation. They will spend time with their family and their loved ones. And that's great. They should be able to spend time with their family and loved ones after, and I repeat, after they have provided stimulus to the American people that actually voted them into that position, into that seat. That should be their number one priority. Now, just the other day, Richard Neal, a Democrat and the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, is saying that he believes getting stimulus into the $1.4 trillion omnibus bill is quite possible. This is something we've been speculating on for a couple months. Could we see our leaders negotiate and get some form of stimulus into the omnibus bill? Right now, it's estimated to be at $1.4 trillion. And Richard Neal seems to believe that, yes, it's quite possible that is what they do, but only for just a few types of stimulus. He states that seeing, again, remember, he is a Democrat. He is a Democrat, okay, from the House. He states that seeing targeted stimulus is not being ruled out at this time. But if stimulus does affect passing the bill, passing the omnibus bill, then it would be pushed back. So he's specifically saying that yes, it's not being ruled out. We could potentially see a stimulus package included into the omnibus bill. Okay, that is the government funding bill for 2021 or their fiscal year. But if there is a hiccup, if there's a reason why we can't pass the omnibus bill and we look like we're headed towards a government shutdown, and it's simply because of a stimulus, a negotiation or argument, then they will pull stimulus out of that deal just to get the omnibus bill passed. Now, two of the pieces of legislation that was stated to be considered, this is just what's being considered. Not that's in there, not that it's a for sure thing, just what's being considered is unemployment benefits and stimulus checks. Those are the two things. And these are the two things because, and like I stated, Republicans want PPP funding. Nancy Pelosi and Democrats, they want state and local government funding. But they also want some PPP funding for small businesses. But this is where the two sides differ. Republicans will hold out negotiations for additional PPP funding. Democrats will hold up negotiations for state and local government funding. So, stimulus checks at this point are considered a must and are seen as a non-starter if not included in a stimulus package by Democrats. This is a good thing, and this is also considered a Republican point as well, is we need stimulus checks to go out to the American people because at the same time, they need PPP funding to go out to businesses. And if businesses stay open and the people do not have funds to go and frequent those businesses, then the business is ultimately going to shut down once again. So that's currently where we're at. But many people have asked, and this is a question I get probably a few times a week that I actually see in the comments. Okay, and this is something that it's out there, and it's a lot of people question this, but I just want to be very clear what the position is on this. Many people have asked, why is an extension of unemployment benefits needed when hazard pay isn't even being considered at this time? And that's true. Unemployment benefits is being deemed as essential, yet hazard pay, so paying people that are going to work an additional bonus to risk their lives, that's not even being considered. Why is that? Well, the reason for unemployment benefits is being considered and why it's being considered essential is because some states have a very low weekly maximum unemployment benefit. So if you break it down, some states, they're paying very little, and this is their maximum benefit, not their minimum, their maximum benefit. I live in Washington State. In Washington State, I believe it's like $740 per week. $740 per week is a very good income. Very good income, no matter where you live in the United States. In California, which is a very expensive place to live, in most cases, it's like $460 a week. So in Washington State, we're at $740. California, they're like $460 or something like that. Why? What's the difference? Also, in Florida, if you live in Florida, your maximum unemployment benefit is $275 per week. If you receive unemployment benefits for 52 weeks for one entire year, you just made $14,300 in that entire year. That doesn't include taxes. In Michigan, you get paid $362 per week. That's a maximum. That equals $18,824 per year. And in Arizona, you would get paid $240 per week maximum for unemployment benefits. In a year, that would be $12,480, all before taxes. Can you imagine? Okay, is it possible to live off of $12,000 to $18,000 per year in 2020? Most people are going to say no. Most people will say no. And the reason why is because costs are increasing. Rent payments increasing. Auto loans increasing. Everything's increasing. Milk, gas, insurance, everything, taxes, everything's increasing. Yet the amount of money you get paid is very little. This is the reason why. Okay, this is the reason why unemployment insurance, unemployment benefits are being deemed essential, and providing that federal boost, that additional $300 to maybe $400, possibly up to $600, is deemed essential. But as you probably already know, it is not just the unemployed that are struggling. More people are struggling than just the unemployed. People with jobs are struggling too. This is why a stimulus check is so important. Because if you are currently working, you do not get unemployment, then how do you receive additional stimulus? Just do a stimulus check or hazard pay. But like we already discussed, hazard pay is not being mentioned at this time. States are also struggling, and according to many reports, they are more worried now than they were back in April. And there's a reason to that. It's simply because of the cost of distributing a vaccine. Right now, states are estimating that they need about $8 billion for distribution. One of the reasons why is because of Pfizer's vaccine. It requires it to stay in a very cold temperature setting. This makes it very difficult for shipping and also for storage. It also becomes very expensive. But the government at this point is only willing to give them about $200 million for it. States want $8 billion. The government says $200 million should be more than enough. I don't know who's right at this point, but we will see very soon. New York's Governor Cuomo, he stated that the state is broke, and without another stimulus package from Congress, New York State will not have the funds needed to properly distribute the vaccines. And if they can't properly warehouse and hold the vaccines could all go bad. They could all go bad and be deemed ineffective. If that's the case, why would we send any vaccines to New York? This is exactly what President Trump said. So, this is not just New York that is requesting more money either. Many states are in the exact same position. What we can expect moving forward. I know it's been a lot. This is a lot of information to take in regards to stimulus, vaccines, and how the stimulus checks, the stimulus as far as unemployment benefits, state and local government funding, and all that stuff is being looked at. It's a lot to take in. This is one of the reasons why I do hours and hours of research every single day to figure out not just what people are talking about, but the reason behind it. What is the reasoning? And if you understand the reasoning, then yes, you can be able to figure out exactly what's going to happen in the future. And that's my goal here, is to provide you insights as to what will happen. Even before some people in reports indicate, oh yes, we're getting a stimulus check for this amount. My goal here is to give you reasons as to why this could potentially happen. And if you are glad I do that, just do me a favor, go ahead and smash that like button. I really appreciate it. It does help out this channel. Now, what we can expect moving forward when it comes to coming together and finding common ground regarding stimulus and a stimulus package is it could be included in the omnibus bill coming up this week. On Tuesday, it's being reported that there will be a vote. There will be a vote on Tuesday. Hopefully, this passes the omnibus bill. Hopefully, this means we see stimulus included. Hopefully, this means we see the numbers into the bill and kind of get an idea of who is going to benefit the most. Again, it will be the government. Obviously, it's their bill, but hopefully there's something in there for the people as well. Also, it could be negotiated. It could be negotiated sooner rather than later. And if this is the case, great. Because the American people can't wait any longer for any type of stimulus. The goal, however, is to get a deal done at this point to bridge the gap between now and early spring when there's more people actually getting the vaccine. The first vaccines are going to go to the people that are our frontline responders, our first defense, nurses, doctors, and people like that. After that, it's going to go to probably firefighters, police officers, and maybe possibly even teachers. Okay, so right now, what we know as the general public, for us, the most amount of people are going to receive the vaccines last. That could probably be sometime in April, possibly even May, and it won't be until this summer 2021, so possibly 7 months away, 7 to 8 months, until we see the vaccines being the most effective. So, we'll see. So right now, that is what we know regarding stimulus and the direction of Congress's plans as we move forward. Again, as we know more, as I know more, promise I will come back and share more with you. Just want to thank you guys for watching today's video. Consider subscribing so I can keep you updated on all things stimulus, and I'll see you guys on the next one.